Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. So once again, just like with my last reading, this is coming through at a time I wasn't really expecting. There is a lot of emotion moving through the collective, especially those of you who identify with being parts of the soul group of souls, of individuals here on earth who are twin flames, who are using twin flame experience as a vehicle in this lifetime for your spiritual awakening and most rapid spiritual growth. Now, of course, there are many different schools of thought, so to speak, as souls, sort of training periods that we go through in between lifetimes prior to incarnating here. But those of us who choose twin flame as a vehicle, as our mode of learning, of awakening, of growing, we are doing this as a way to break down barriers between self and other on the planets and to come back into unconditional love. And this has a really profound effect, not just at the individual level, but at the level of our families, future generations, at the level of our community, and of course, on a global scale as well. I don't really know why I felt guided to talk a little bit about that, but I feel someone listening just needed a reminder. The path you're on, even though at times it is easy to get really caught up on the day-to-day, in the day-to-day emotions, feelings, experiences that sometimes we, from a human perspective, will label as negative. Remember that your soul had a purpose here. You are being divinely guided beyond what at times your ego allows you to grasp or understand. So I'm going to start by shuffling the Energy Oracle cards deck, but as you can tell from the title of this video, I haven't titled it yet, but I'm really feeling guided to put somewhere in the title the words timeouts, because right now there is something taking place for many twin flames on the planet, and this is a very challenging and confusing dynamic. And of course, I flip over the deck. I was shuffling it, and at the bottom of the deck is the Magician and the Mirror card in the upright position. And of course, under that, Adjacent Possibilities reversed, and Angel of Love reversed, and then Patience in the reverse position. Okay, wow. So lots of cards coming out right away. By the way, just like in the last video, because there were some really strong downloads coming through from my guides prior to this reading, I will be infusing some of that into the reading, so it won't just be straight up pulling cards. I will be using the cards to assist with explaining some of the messages I've been feeling coming through. But with Magician in the Mirror in the upright position, this speaks to integration. So the message that I got before starting this reading is, for many of you listening, and probably if you connected with the title of this video, if you clicked on this video, there's a good chance that you have gone through or are going through the experience of your twin flame connection being put in timeouts, so to speak. Now, of course, time doesn't exist at a higher level, at the energetic level, because all timelines, all times and spaces and places in the universe that have ever existed or will ever exist are actually happening simultaneously. Time is only linear as we process it through the human minds. But I feel that in 3D, so speaking now from the perspective of this one physical lifetime where we do experience life in a linear fashion, I sense that many twin flames are, I'm hearing the word limbo. It feels like being in limbo. It feels like having a foot in two places. I'm also getting that at this time, many twin flames may be more strongly calling in soulmate connections. This will not resonate for everyone, but for many twin flames during this so-called timeout period, you will find soulmates coming in to assist you with this integration taking place, to stabilize you. Now, for some of you, these may be romantic in nature. I'm hearing flings, short connections. So pay attention, because for those of you who are in the dating world, who also identify as a twin flame, but you feel as though your twin flame connection has been put on hold or is in a limbo, notice the people that walk into your life, even for a short period of time, and ask yourself why you may have called in these particular people or connections, because that's really the message that was coming through strongly prior to this reading is you are not meeting people right now. You are calling them in. Really, the quote that came through is, we don't meet each other, we call each other in. And I feel that calling in happening really strongly for a lot in our collective. I just saw the numbers 7, 11 for someone as well. But getting back to this Magician in the Mirror, this integration, the next card here is adjacent possibilities in the reverse position. Okay, so in the last reading, we talked about timelines, and timelines are a very energetically, spiritually complex topic and form of spiritual understanding of this life. It's very difficult for us to explain or to wrap our mind around it, although many of us do strongly resonate with the concept of there being these different timelines, these different life trajectories. We are still human, and it can be difficult to fully grasp. However, if you are connecting with this channel, you are a very ancient and a very advanced soul, which is why so many of you resonate with the idea of these timelines, because at a soul level, you already know this. You've just forgotten, because we all forget when we choose to come into these bodies with soul amnesia. But you know that all of your timelines are actually happening, even all of your lifetimes. What we think of as past lives or future lives are actually, again, occurring simultaneously. So with adjacent possibilities reversed, what I'm getting here, this is kind of a strange message, but for a subset of our twin flame collective here, which, by the way, this is a side note, but another message that came through is really that label of twin flame. We are in the process of redefining, reclaiming that label in a different way, because so often when we think of the term twin flame from the old modality, from the old way of thinking, we would think of that term as being purely, okay, I am in love with this person. I feel intensely connected to this physical person. We are going to go through this exact series of stages. And there's this very kind of cut and dry, mapped out understanding of twin flames. But although, of course, all of that I just mentioned can very well be part of your twin flame experience, although there are variations on that. Like, for example, many of you are familiar with Cassidy Kane, And she is a beautiful twin flame teacher. And she actually has a twin flame counterpart who is not physically incarnated, but works with her from the higher realms. So, of course, there are many unique variations within that label of twin flames. But what I was getting to here, and many of you have been feeling this as well, is that being a twin flame is so much more than the physical 3D relationship, although we do experience an immense amount of learning, soul growth, soul expansion through connecting with our physical twin flame counterpart. It just goes so far beyond that. And many of you are receiving this as well. You are receiving the download that being a twin flame is about being from this particular school of thought, so to speak. This particular soul group is another way to think of it, a collective of souls who are coming to planet Earth to break down barriers that have created separation. And all pain that happens on planet Earth occurs to some degree as a result of a separation mindset, because when we see self as entirely separate from others, we might do things to cause pain to another person, not realizing that we are actually causing pain to ourselves. And when it comes to being a twin flame, what happens is, and this is where I'm getting into some of the download that I got earlier this morning with Angel of Love reversed. This represents unconditional love, breaking down walls when it comes to loving unconditionally. The reason that twin flame connection, imagine this, I'm seeing like, I don't know much about cars, but like a Ferrari or some kind of a car that has an ability to go extremely fast, but is also a very finely tuned instrument. So it's very responsive to you, right? You touch the pedal even slightly and it responds instantaneously. We are given a physically incarnated twin flame experience because it is that connection that has the ability to both go very fast and also be incredibly responsive. In fact, energetically, twin flames are perfectly in tune with one another. It is a very energetically responsive connection. When there is the slightest shift in this metaphor, like you touch the pedal in the slightest way, and this twin flame connection just instantaneously moves forward very fast. There is this instant reaction always between yourself and your twin flame. But also, just like when someone is first learning to drive, they won't be given a sports car that goes very fast to learn how to drive in. Typically, twin flame connection is reserved for the most advanced souls, spiritually speaking. This is why most people in the past on the planet, although this is beginning to change because the collective is waking up, people are beginning to reach that tipping point where they're capable of connecting more consciously with a twin flame. But most in the past would never physically interact with, in a meaningful way, their twin flame. They would never have that moment of energy merge in the physical world, in a physical lifetime with a twin flame, because quite simply, it would be overwhelming to the system. It would be trying to learn to drive in a sports car going 150 miles per hour or something. And many of you know this. This is why this connection is so intense. It's because it is so instantaneously responsive. And I just see like someone taking the keys from the car. I feel specifically, and this won't be for everyone, but in the Divine Masculine Collective, there was a situation where the keys had to be taken away from the car. It's like the car is still there. It's still beautiful. It still has all of that capacity and all of that potential within it. But right now it's feeling like it's sitting in the garage because someone needed to on a spiritual level to integrate. It's difficult to follow this car metaphor all the way through to the deepest spiritual core of what we're talking about here. The difficult thing that's kind of in a nutshell here, many twin flames are experiencing, is knowing that you have this incredibly intense, beautiful, responsive connection, and yet with patience in the reverse position, I'm just hearing like the time isn't right, feeling like the time is not right at this moment. Again, speaking from a physical human perspective here, to fully connect or reunite or be fully connected in the 3D, in a physical, balanced, stable, long-term physical relationship with this person. And of course, I am not speaking to everyone here. I know for sure there are many, many twin flame couples in union right now, but also there is just this dynamic of many twin flames being placed in circumstances where, again, there is this timeouts. There is this break, but not a break so much as we think of a pause, as it is. I almost see it's like as though you have the ability to freeze everything going on in the physical world, but you can still move around within that frozen world. And it's as though many twin flames are having their physical 3D connection frozen in that way, but on the soul level, on a spiritual level, there is still so much activity going on. There is so much movement. That movement is the integration. It is integrating the changes, the shifts, the massive downloads that have taken place energetically through their physical 3D interactions with one another so far. So I am going to reshuffle the cards here. And by the way, there will be an extended version to this reading on Patreon. Of course, once again, the Magician in the Mirror card comes out here a second time. I am just going to take a moment here to get out a pin, which I forgot to do at the beginning. I just saw the number 1717 for someone, by the way. But I do want to write down as we go along what will be included in the extended channeling, which again is in our Soul Tribe on Patreon. So if you would like to explore more about that, you can do so by checking out the pinned comments in the comment section under the video, or there will also be a link in the description box as well. So the reason I'm writing something down right now is because one thing we are going to address further in the extended is how this so-called break in 3D or time out is affecting both the divine masculine and divine feminine in the collective. And again, if you aren't physically interacting with your twin flame, know that these labels, divine masculine, divine feminine, could very well be just as equally applied to your inner divine masculine and inner divine feminine energies. Okay, so I'm going to reshuffle the cards here. So what else do twin flames listening to this reading need to know? Of course, the yin yang card in the upright position. This is the number one twin flame card. This is crazy because I have only pulled about 5 cards so far. And of those 5 cards, 2 of them have been my 2 twin flame cards in the deck. So there is so much very strong twin flame energy current running through this reading, which of course makes sense because I know that many of you listening identify with the concept of being a twin flame, but also I feel this card is coming out because someone is in need of some kind of confirmation. I feel someone saying like, am I crazy for still feeling so connected to this person in spite of everything, in spite of the circumstances, which leads me to believe I could be speaking to someone who's been through a very difficult time recently in 3D with their twin flame. And I see this card coming out as a confirmation, like, no, You are not crazy. Your heart knows what it knows, because I feel this yin yang card sitting on the heart center. It's like that thing that is weighing on your heart. I'm specifically hearing the knowing that is weighing on your hearts. Community in the reverse position. So there could be, whoever I'm channeling right now, I feel there's some kind of physical distance geographically between yourself and your twin flame. The number 7 also came out here as well, but also this could speak to someone simply feeling a bit isolated, a bit lonely, walking away in the reverse position. I feel someone's soul saying here, I want to come home. And this really leads me into another message that came through while I was meditating. A download I got is being a twin flame in circumstances where there is this so-called timeouts, where there is this frozen moments, this freeze kind of moments in 3D, is similar to having a house. This is the way that my guides were giving it to me. Having a house in your favorite city, or in a city you grew up in, and you feel more familiar with this place than anywhere else. You have spent a lot of time in this house. It feels warm. It feels safe. There's like a fire going. Everything about this house just, it feels right. And most of us are not in our house 100% of the time. So we go on journeys, we go on trips, we go out to do things. And these can represent what we could almost think of as twin flames as spiritual side quests. So we might be sent or called on some level to help or assist other people in certain ways. We might go out and pursue different passions, interests, dreams. But in our heart, there is this home, and all of those other things sometimes feel like journeys. They almost feel like work trips or business trips, but there is this sense that we have a home that one day we are going to be returning to, regardless of what current side quest, for lack of a better word, we are on. And being a twin flame is very much that way. When we are away from our twin flame, it feels like being away from home. And yet at the same time, we always have an awareness of this home within us. It is like there is a compass within us pointing to this connection, pointing in this direction. And we always feel it in our heart and soul. And I got this kind of download this morning that many twin flames who are in this kind of timeout period, it's as though you are on an extended trip to a vacation rental somewhere, and you had to leave your home because this terrible winter blizzard was coming. And you knew it was going to be cold and icy, and maybe you were even going to be snowed in to your house. You were going to be miserable, but you love that home. You love that home, and you know that the season isn't right. You know that if you were to stay in that home during this winter season, during this blizzard, you would be miserable. You would be unhappy. You would be unfulfilled, and you wanted to live your life. You wanted to experience life. And yet, living in this vacation rental, even though it's very nice and you can collect furniture and appliances and things to make it feel like home, you may even find yourself referring to it as home. When you're out in that new city, you might say, I'm going to go home, and you might be referring to that new vacation rental. You might stay there for months or even years, but in your heart, you know that it's not truly home for you. As long as you live there, as comfortable as you feel there, as happy as you are there, and as much as you know that at this season you can't return to your true home, you will always feel that home within you. And in certain moments where you feel alone, or you feel isolated, or you feel a little bit empty inside, you might long for that home. And you might tell yourself, I want to go home. And you wouldn't be talking about this vacation rental you've been living in for months or years. You would be talking about that place you grew up in, that place where you feel the most familiar and comfortable. So this is what many twin flames are going through at a spiritual level within this soul connection. It is, I know, twin flame, that you represent my home space frequency. And I feel when I'm with you that this is home. But things between us became so unbalanced or so challenging in the 3D that it began to be like that winter. And intuitively, I sensed that staying with you in this so-called metaphoric home would be equivalent to keeping myself snowed into a house in the middle of an icy winter. Neither of us would be happy in that unbalanced situation, in that wrong season. And so I chose to disconnect. I chose to walk away. There is this timeout happening within our connection. And for many, especially divine feminines, there could be instances of attracting in very warm, very familiar, beautiful soulmate connections. And in many ways, these could represent sort of that vacation condo rental, sort of that second home. And some people might choose to live in that second home indefinitely, or maybe there are circumstances between yourself and your twin flame in the 3D where you might choose to never go back and fully live in that home again. And that would be your choice. You do have free will in these situations and within these connections. You can choose how to design your life experience here. But what we know as twin flames is there will always be that pull toward our true home, towards that person that shares our home space frequency. And that is what is putting so many of us in a very challenging position with victory reversed. It can cause these feelings of hopelessness to surface from time to time. So if you are a divine feminine connecting with this portion of the reading, I am going to be channeling in the extended more messages from your spirit guides. I know I sound far away here. It's because I'm writing this down. From your spirit guides or higher self about this situation, about this pull, this longing you could still be feeling for your twin flame. But at the same time, with Door to Romance uprights, what you need to know in this reading. And if you aren't going on to the extended, where I want to leave this portion of the messages for you, divine feminine, is you need to know that amazing things are coming, but aren't just coming. They are here. They are here for you if you will have the level of trust and self-love and surrender to reach out and take them. The universe wants to pour blessings into your life. There is so much joy, so much happiness, so much fulfillment coming for you, and you do not ever have to live in a winter. You are strong enough for this experience. Your soul knew that, which is why it chose to experience something that would be so intense, and at times, because of the intensity, would be very overwhelming or confusing. You are on a different path, divine feminine, than most people around you understands. And that's why you need to understand this path. That's why you need to connect with the knowing that when you become overwhelmed, when you feel energetically chaotic or unbalanced within yourself, emotionally pummeled in some sense, this does not mean you are not strong. It means at a soul level, at a core level, your soul knew, your guides knew, your higher self knew you were strong enough, and you are strong enough to experience things in this lifetime that are very energetically intense, in a way that most people would not be capable of handling. So again, there will be further messages for you in the extended, which is linked in the pinned comments and description box. Guys, you are not going to believe me, but I went to reshuffle the cards, and for a third time, the Magician in the Mirror card in the upright position came out here. And I feel this card is emerging at the end of this reading or towards the end of this YouTube reading because your guides strongly want you to know the theme of everything that is happening, the currents underlying everything is things are coming into balance. This is all for the purpose of integration. Of course, Angel of Balance in the upright position, speaking just to that. This is a card of confirmation of everything we were just talking about. Things are balancing out. But specifically with the sacral chakra upright here, I feel that the masculine is becoming more in touch with his emotions than ever before. Yeah, the Sun card in the upright position, strongly desiring this new beginning, this movement forward. But the thing is, if you choose to create a 3D new beginning with this person, it has to come from a place of total transparency. In the past, many of us as twin flame couples, physically incarnated here together, many of us chose to participate in patterns where there was not transparency. For divine feminines, we did this by ignoring or repressing, denying our intuition, telling us that something was not transparent. We chose to ignore this intuition for the sake of remaining 3D connected in with the person to whom we felt that home frequency most strongly. For the masculine, they chose to participate in these patterns by refusing to be transparent in many ways, by fearing seeing themselves or being seen so clearly, by being terrified, by running away, by allowing the divine feminine to repress or deny her intuition about a lack of transparency, for some through not being fully open and honest, depending on your situation. But all of these things have come to light, have come to the surface, either within ourselves, within our own conscious minds, or they've been put in our face in our physical reality. The reason they've been put in our face is because Spirit is saying, you have become too spiritually advanced to go back to a lack of transparency, to participate in patterns, relationships, connections in the 3D, even with your twin flame, where there is a lack of accountability to the truth. And so you are going to be divinely disconnected in 3D from any connections that lack this transparency in order to allow you to fully connect more profoundly with your own intuition, divine feminine and divine masculine, to allow you to fully open yourself through the sacral chakra to being fully open, honest, transparent, having the courage to develop these kinds of connections in the 3D in which you are fully seen and understood, in which you fully see and understand others. And both the feminine and masculine must balance these things out in order for them to align, to realign fully with one another in the physical, in the 3D. Now, of course, depending on what wave you are on, what timeline you are on as a twin flame here on this earth, you will find yourself at different points in this progression. I am just speaking here to the overarching themes and patterns that we're experiencing as twin flames collectively, but you will know how and which of these things apply to you, where you are at personally on this journey. And I just want to close this reading. Well, I will be pulling a Rumi Oracle card before we head over to the extended, but I also want to close this reading by saying, you are placed in circumstances where at times you feel isolated because light does, I wanted to say does no good, but that's not true. Light has less of an impact in an already illuminated room. So you've been placed in darkness. You have been placed in circumstances in this life that have been very dark, very confusing, very heavy at times. But you carry more light within yourself than you give yourself credit for. You have more of an illuminating impact on the darkness around you than your human ego mind would allow yourself to believe, than others around you would allow yourself to believe. And you're being called to embrace that light, to fearlessly radiate that light amidst darkness, to not fear the darkness, to not fear being alone, being isolated in the 3D. But at the same time, what you need to know is that you are not alone, that the loneliness itself is an illusion. There are more souls here incarnated on this earth experiencing what you are experiencing than you fully realize. Again, because you have been placed in unilluminated places, spaces, and communities for the purpose of illuminating them. But I hope that through this space here on YouTube, through our community here, you are able to connect with other like-minded souls in a way that you may not be able to always in your physical 3D day-to-day life. I am so grateful for each of you for co-creating that kind of a virtual space here along with me. And I am just going to close this reading with this Rumi Oracle card, which of course says the courage of your love. Because we were just talking about how much courage is being required of you to be in these places that are unilluminated and to stand in your lights. I'm just going to read a little bit from the guidebook here. Love is without reason. Rationality is like a cane. Judgment needs a cane because it is blind. When love arrives, thought dies in its shadow. Love is the sunrise, while thought is only a flashing light. When you walk around with your heart wide open, you will be protected. You do not have to play in the games that other people created for you when it comes to how you work, how you create, how you live your life, how you connect with others. We aren't here to follow others' rules. We are here to entirely change the game. And we are changing the game because we are shifting from a 3D consciousness to a 5D consciousness, and you are playing a very integral role, an essential role in all of that. So I'm just going to read a little bit more from the guidebook here. The path of freeing the hearts from the effects of a fearful mind is an initiation into great power. Wow, what a powerful line. So many lapses will happen. These lapses, by the way, could be these timeout periods. So many lapses will happen before the heart grows strong enough to overpower old patterns and surrender without condition or equivocation. When it is ready to surrender in such a way, the heart is free and allowed to simply be. You are an ancient one. With a heart older than the mountains, you are being asked to free yourself from the too small loves of the youthful hearts and come to understand and accept the wisdom of your mature hearts. Your mature heart was not cursed with hardness or detachment, but with compassion and tenacious devotion to the cause that is most real and matters most, the quest for life of the human soul. So, wow, I don't even know how to elaborate on that message. That was so beautiful. And I am really grateful to all of you who have manifested the messages in this reading, co-creating them by being energetically tuned in here on YouTube. And if you haven't yet fully tuned in by subscribing, I do invite you to subscribe. This also does allow me to pick up more easily on your energy in future readings and channel more relevant messages for you and the situations that matter most to you in your life at the moment. In the extended version of the reading, we will be diving into deeper details that came up earlier in the reading, as well as messages from your spirit guides, divine feminine, from your higher self at this time. And in addition to that, we will be reading into the divine masculine energy because we only had a chance to touch on the masculine energy in this reading. There were just so many other different messages coming through, but we will go into that more deeply in the extended as well as love messages from both the divine masculine and divine feminine at this time. So all of that is linked in the pinned comments and description under the video. Otherwise, I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you again in Monday's reading.